Hi, this is Bobby Steele, Legendary Supply Chain. Today we'll be running through a quick slideshow about the Legendary Supply Chain application as well as a brief demo of the platform. A little bit about us before we dive right in. Many of us here at Legendary Supply Chain have a background in medical supply chain as well as field service. So really tailoring this application to focus on the end-to-end supply chain management from requisition or request of items all the way through fulfillment and consumption of those items, even down to the reverse logistics if necessary. This application we first did a pilot program of where we really just wanted to see if inventory and supply chain could be ran on the force.com platform, on a large scale. So we were working with a company in Europe who had just acquired many companies across 8 different countries, and we were consolidating their warehouses and purchasing programs. So we did that project. We came back here to the US. It was really successful. We did multi-company, multi-currency. Then we decided we were going to productize and really run this to ground. So we are now an OEM partner with Salesforce. This means that you can procure Legendary Supply Chain application licenses with or without a full Salesforce license. So it really gives you a lot of flexibility with how you structure those licenses. And of course, we're leveraging the first-in-class cloud infrastructure of the Salesforce and the Force.com platform. And we are an enterprise Salesforce application, so any enterprise order we can install right into your instance, and you can log in using your same Salesforce username and password. Or if you're new to the Force.com environment in the world of Salesforce, we can also spin you up a new org and help you get started. The core areas of the application are really inventory management, logistics, and procurement, and everything that we do focuses on those 3 major areas that encompass the supply chain process. So these are the 8 different apps, the 8 different modules that make up our platform. We have the accounting app, which is going to focus on operational accounting. This is where you can load your banking, run your invoicing, do your expense reporting, manage all the inventory movements and in and out changes of your inventory. We also have our customer service module, and this is where all of the requisitions are going to come into. Anytime a part is asked for, anytime an item is requested, it will come through the customer service app where it'll be triaged and then routed to the correct departments, whether or not that be purchasing or warehouse and logistics, or may just transition into a different job duties of the same person. We also have many features built out in our purchasing application, which is where you can do your sourcing, to keep track of all your vendor prices, do your vendor scorecards, keep track of your vendor DOA and restock rates so you understand how those vendors are performing, as well as cut your purchase orders, manage the goods receipts of those items, and verify that those are ready for payment. The logistics and warehousing application work really hand in hand. Logistics is going to help coordinate the shipping, make sure all the items are pulled, packed, and shipped, and the warehouse team is going to make sure the warehouse is staying cycle counted, barcoded, very up to date, has all of the bin movements, barcode scanning, and all of the fun stuff that goes along with warehousing. We also have a very robust engineering module or application where we can keep up with your item masters and your materials, where we can track the manufacturers, the models, and all of the part numbers, as well as your compatible materials. What items are compatible with other items, what makes up a particular item, so we can build out that bill of materials for a particular model or SKU, and also have very robust classification or configuration object, which can be used to classify materials on a multi-tiered or multi-structured level to allow for a very robust use case of the application, especially as it relates to integrations and reporting later on down the road. We also have a project management tool to track your projects and your tickets, estimate resources needed to perform particular projects, and a build and repair and harvest module. This module is pretty unique to us. Not a lot of applications have harvest, but this is the process of where you would bring in inventory, part it down, bring those parts into inventory, and go through the process of triaging and costing those items. Here's just a few of the platform features that exist in the Legendary application. We have a ton of dynamic document generation. We have a quick select inventory and consumption where you can quickly consume inventory, receive your inventory into stock for doing any type of stock receiving. We also track your internal versus external fill rates. So this is where you're going to track how much of my requests are having to be procured out of the warehouse versus how much are having to be drop shipped from a vendor. Neither is good nor bad. You just want to be able to make business decisions based off of that information. We have some customers that want 100% internal fulfillment. They want to ship everything from their warehouse for a customer, with the exception of course, the stock orders. And we have some customers that want all external fulfillment. They don't want any inventory in the warehouse. So this really is just for stock planning and making business decisions for your business. A ton of reporting and analytics. We also have this object called inventory movements that really plays into that inventory and analytic reporting, where anytime you have a fiscal or physical change in inventory, we're going to post a movement, which is essentially a log file. So we're able to run a trended inventory analysis over time so we can see the change in our inventory at any given point. You can run a report for 317 days ago, what was the value of my inventory. We're also a community-approved partner with Salesforce, meaning if you have any type of vendor or customers who want to leverage any types of portals, we can help you guys set up those portals and give them access to their data, be able to automatically send them reports, tons of automations that we get to leverage using that Force.com platform for automatic reporting, email alerts, field updates, and a lot of no-code user customization. We also have many features such as like our legendary tab panels that are going to help streamline the application. We've come out with the new Lightning updates as well. These have morphed into Lightning panels and pop-up modals and things that help you stay on one screen to be able to facilitate a lot of different actions. We want to try to kill keystrokes and keep you in one place to be as effective as possible. Here's just a few of the services we provide. We help out with document generation and documentation of your current business processes, as well as what the new business processes are going to be. We do custom app development, help manage the change cycle. Anyone who's gone through one of these types of implementations, especially as it relates to purchasing and supply chain, knows that this is a change to your organization. This is a project that has massive value for giving you insight to every area of your supply chain. What's happening with my inventory? What's happening in my purchasing department? Are my orders getting fulfilled on time? Am I ready for all these projects that I'm selling right now? And managing that change as you transition from what you're doing today to what all of the capabilities you're going to gain tomorrow is super important to be able to successfully implement one of these types of applications. So we're very passionate about that area and want to make sure that we're helping guide you through that process. We of course do custom development when necessary, help out doing integration, so being able to leverage the Force.com platform again with all of the APIs that you're able to build into the application. We've integrated into many applications such as Great Plains, any other Force.com applications such as ServiceMax, Field Service Lightning. We've done eBay integrations, we've done Channel Ape integration, OneDrive, Dropbox Paper. We've even done library integrations, all sorts of integrations out there we're really able to leverage using this platform, as well as building out reporting and dashboards, help train your users, even come in and help out with the warehouse design. We are a Zebra approved partner as well, so any type of Zebra equipment, whether or not that be printers, scanners, things like that, we can help you procure. And we'll also help dedicate a project manager to making sure that your implementation and your project goes underway smoothly. And just to wrap up again, our application, Legendary Supply Chain Platform, does focus primarily on inventory management, logistics, and purchasing to help make sure we give you end-to-end visibility of every area of your supply chain, all the way from the time inventory has been requested or items at that point have been requested, regardless of whether or not they are in inventory, and then the methods that we're going to use to procure those items and track all of the points throughout the way until those items reach their final destination and are ultimately used within your organization or delivered to the customer. And we want to give you greater visibility of all your returns, track your DOAs, track your vendors, track your customers. How's everyone performing on both sides of the fence? Are your customers providing you with real orders? Are your vendors being able to fulfill those orders in a timely fashion? Is your warehouse having a good DOA rates in the parts that you're shipping out of your own internal stock? How are the repairs of those inventory? Making sure those repairs are not coming back later on down the road, as well as keeping up with the reverse logistics as well, managing those core exchanges and the returns process through every step of the method, through every step of the process. All right, so jumping into the Legendary Supply Chain demo here, I'm going to drag over Salesforce. All right. So here we go. This is just the Salesforce homepage and one of our demo orgs here. Right now I'm in the customer service application. So I have my open requisitions right here, and then I also have my ordered and ready to invoice requisitions here. Some may or may not be invoiced, depends on if they're of a type sales orders. Sales orders are a type of requisition that would go all the way to invoice. And of course, these applications, so if you go to the app launcher here, this will launch all of the apps that a particular user has access to. Not every user will have access to the same applications, but I have access to all 8 of the Legendary Supply Chain apps. And this is going to show me all of the tabs that I might have access to within this Orator instance. These home pages are also different per application, or can be different per application. So if I click into the Warehouse Lightning application, I can see here that this is going to pull up Chatter for me, and also all of my open ship notes. So these are the items that need to be shipped. And if I switch back to my customer service application, it will bring back up my requisitions that I need to process. Now, before we dive into an actual order and process that, I'm going to look at a little bit of the item master and the data structure. So these are our materials. This is an object that we use to store all of our item master level information, such as our manufacturer, our models, our part numbers, and any detailed specifications about a particular item. But it's important to note that a material is not inventory. It is just the model information of a particular item. You may or may not have stock of this item. So for instance, this GE quad knee coil here, I do not have any stock available or any internal stock. Whereas above here for this Alaris 8100, I have 4 available and I have 7 total internal stock. There's a lot of reasons those 3 additionals may not be available. It could be that they're a WIP item. They may have a repair in progress. It could be in quality check. They might be in shipping or in transit, or they could even be held for any type of project or call that they may be being worked on. Cool. So if we click into this Alaris 8100, I can see a lot of information about this item here. And keep in mind as we go through this demo and I try to show you all these screens that there's a lot of information here that may or may not be relevant to you and your organization. And these screens are highly customizable. You can add fields, you can hide fields, we can customize the views and permissions per users so that your users are getting exactly what they need to see and only what they need to see. So here I'm going to have all my manufacturer, my model, part number, year, revision information, as well as our ODM, or device manufacturer. We also have the common name of the item, the thumbnails, our serialized information, whether or not we require cores, whether or not it's a tool or a repairable item, internally repairable, and this information here in our detailed specifications could influence what happens later on down the road in the application, such as core required is going to trigger an RMA if an item is being used in the field, so we make sure we're getting that core exchange back, regardless of whether or not we have purchased it from a vendor requiring it on exchange. We also have our classifications and component types where we can classify these items, and you get to set up that classification structure. You can also set up your warranty, exchange days. You can capture your market price, and this market price is going to be based on the sourcing items that you are able to enter to the system. Sourcing items also being synonymous to a vendor quote, and we're going to capture all those vendor quotes so we are able to leverage how the price is changing throughout the market, and as well as what your average price to purchase is from a third party. We can also capture all the OEM information as well, the OEM list price, or OEM exchanges and core values, as well as your total available value and your average cost per item. You can also set up your package dimensions, primary and secondary vendors, your min-maxes, and lots of things on these objects. If you see here and you go to your related tab, you can also see that everything, or not everything, but most things link back to a material. So this is a very core object within the application, and there's a lot of reporting that's going to be done off the materials. All of your inventory is going to relate to a material. You can put together your bill of materials. You're going to capture all of your sourcing linked to this item, all the prices you've received, every time the item's been requested and who it was requested by, as well as who you purchased the item from and what you purchased it for, and any harvests or any compatible materials or third-party stock that you may have of this item. Here in our historical overview, we've actually set up a custom screen to be able to break down just an overview of this item as it is today. This is something that you will see in other areas of the application as well that we get to leverage while we're creating an order and things like that, where we can see our inventory that we have right now, our last 5 sourcing items, last 5 POs, and last 5 sales. So off the cuff, I can see here's my inventory. This is what I've sourced it for, this is what I've purchased it for, and this is what I've sold it for, right in one view. And I can also dive deeper into this item if I want to as well. I can dive right into the details. I can dive deeper into that sourcing history if I would like by clicking on these tabs, and it'll bring up bigger lists of those items that we were just looking at. I can also look at the compatibility, substitutions, and other records that may be related to this material here. I can also add bill of materials, so I can add multiple records at once. I can add compatible materials if I have compatible items, and I can add materials to be compatible up to a certain threshold, and also make them reverse compatible. And then I can also view my bill of materials here, and it will show me the items that make up the material I'm looking at, and I can expand these to look at the details as well as look at the material details related, and look at this items, in this case this gantry motor's bill of materials as well. Keep in mind that there's not actually a GE gantry motor inside an Alaris 8100. This is just mock data here. Awesome, so that's a little bit about our material object, and then I'm going to look at just a piece of inventory real quick. This is just going to break down your inventory. We have places where you can capture the inventory owner, which would be who owns the inventory, the location of this item. This one is in core returns, it's in internal stock. This is a WEP item, so it's probably been returned via some type of exchange, and we are waiting to repair this item. And I can see any related information to this inventory here as well. So anytime the item's been shipped, any movements that have ever happened with this particular piece of inventory, any work orders or repairs that have ever been performed on it, all the way down to the serial number level. Awesome, so that's a little bit of information just about the materials and the inventory and how that data is structured. So now let's jump into an order. So here I can see all of my open requisitions, everything's ready to invoice, and I can see these blue buttons over here. I can create a new sales order, a new stock order, a new field order. For the sake of this example, I'm going to run through and do a quick sales order. So I'm actually going to start out from a contact, just because if I start from a contact, for instance, if George Brown is my contact and I search for him, and I can use the global search to find that contact, and I create a new sales orders from his contact record, it'll pre-populate the requesting company as well as the requesting contact information for me. And if I had an address on file for them, I could also go ahead and populate that. In this case, I'm just going to use the global media warehouse, and it's going to populate the address here right whenever I select that. I'm just going to verify this is the date that I want the items. I can put an expiration date here, as well as capture the customer PO if they've provided that information for me, and put in any sales notes about this particular sales order. Then I can add a detailed description internally if I need any information, such as pictures, photos, particular notes from the customer. And now I can go down here and search for this item. So here we have built in a custom advanced search where I can go search for, in this case, search for that 8100. And it's going to search for that item here. I can see I have 4 available in inventory, and if I click on my details tab, it'll actually pull up that historical overview we were looking at earlier. So it's going to show me all of that preview information right here while I'm creating a sales order. Now I can select this item. So now I'm going to select an item I have in stock. I'm also going to select an item that I do not have in stock. So in this case, we know, because we were looking at it earlier, we don't have any of those quad knee coils. So let's select that. For this item, let's go ahead and look up that knee coil as well, just so we can see what we've sold it for in the past. And again, I did not have any inventory of this item. But it looks like we've sold this item for some pretty high dollar amounts previously, so that gives me a range as to what I should offer for this Alaris 8100 here. This item I've sold, around $1,000 here. So I'm going to go ahead and offer this one at 1100. I'm going to offer this one at 14.5. And as I put in those numbers, they'll actually roll up here, so I can see my line quantities. My actual quantity. So if I want to sell two of these Alaris 8100s, my quantity will go up, but I still only have 2 lines. and my total dollar amount increases live before I save any information. I'm going to sell these items outright for this example, and we can save this. Now if I wanted to clone these rows, I could also use this icon right here to clone them, and I can add additional rows and remove them using the trash can. So now we'll save this item. This is going to save a requisition as well as our requisition items. And I'm going to go through and I'm going to process everything right here on the requisition. So keep in mind, as I do this process, I could do this as a handoff to the purchasing department. I could also hand off to the shipping department when it comes time to do those functions. But for this example, I'm going to show how one user could actually perform all the functions if that was something you wanted to do in your organization or something you ever needed to do right here from the requisition. Real quick, so let's put in, I can also edit this here, so in this case let's put it there, net 30, put in some notes here. In our fulfillment information section right here, you can see that this one is 0% fulfilled, but these numbers will fill in as we fulfill this order. So I'm going to go up here to check my stock. I'm going to see if I have any of these items. We know we have these Laris 8100s. And I'm going to check out these serial numbers. These are all in the Legendary Warehouse. I'm going to add these to my cart. And so actually right there, I just added an item that was $1,200 of cost. So let's switch over to my cart real quick. So I can actually see that I just added an item. We have $1,200 of cost on. I'm selling it for $1,100. So I'm actually losing $100 on this order. Real quick, let's go ahead and remove that from my cart. So just like I would online shopping anywhere else, I can see my cart. And I know that I want to remove this item because it's highlighting to me that I'm going to lose money here. So let's remove that. The item's been removed. We're back in the green again, so I'm going to go back and check my stock. And now I'm going to add the other Laris 8100 that I have $750 of cost on, so that I can sell that item instead. Now, this is on a specific cost model. If you're doing standard cost or average cost, these costs would be even out across the board, and that might not be as big a concern for you and your organization. So just to check on this quad knee coil, I can see that I don't have any items here. If I did want to see that history again, I could click in on this blue link, and again, this will pop up that material history. So I always have that detailed information right here at my fingertips without ever having to screen bounce. So now I'm going to go over here to sourcing. I'm going to check and see if I've ever sourced this item recently. I can see that I have sourced this item relatively recently from Vendor Extraordinaire here. But I'm going to call them and just make sure they still have that item. And so whenever I call them up, I'm going to say Vendor Extraordinaire, put some of this item outright. They said it's been reconditioned. It said it looks really good. And they're going to sell it to me for $82.50, a little less than that prior price we just looked at. And I can save this. And I could have also added more sourcing information right there, and that's going to roll up into that average we were looking at earlier. So now when I go here, I'm going to say that I want one of these. I'm going to add these to my cart. And now I'm going to bounce over to my cart, and it's going to show me I'm going to ship 2 items from the Legendary Warehouse, and I'm going to purchase 1 item from Vendor Extraordinaire, and it breaks it down by vendor or by warehouse. So if I was shipping from multiple warehouses, I could see all the items that I'm shipping from one warehouse, all the items I'm shipping from another warehouse, and all the items that I plan on purchasing from a vendor. It's going to break down my cost, my price, and I can actually see my margins on this sales order right here. So now when I'm ready, I'm going to check out. And when I check out, this is going to, right there, is going to create a shipping note and send it off to the warehouse team. And this is going to cut a PO for me. I can also click show completed items, and it'll bring all that information back up for me. So now I can click onto my shipping tab, and we're going to ship those 2 items out of the warehouse. And again, this could hand off to the warehouse and logistics team, but we're going to go ahead and process this item right here. And so I can open this up and see the shipping note. I'm going to click on process, and this would be the same screen inside this box here that they would see on a mobile device. And they could use this to scan inventory, or using a tablet or their phone, just click buttons to process the order. So if I did have a scanner, I could scan this inventory number right here. Sorry about that. On a Mac, and forgot my short keys. So then I can paste that in there and scan this item. And it's going to go ahead and pull that out of inventory for me right then and there. because if I was using a barcode scanner and I scanned the exact number, I would want it to be able to pull that out of inventory. Then if I was not on a scanner, I could just go down here, select the item. It's going to ask me to verify that this is the serial number, this is the item that I'm pulling, and I can confirm, and it will also pull that for me right away. Now it's going to prompt me to go ahead and ship this item. So now I'm going to ship this via FedEx. I'm going to move this into shipping, and I'm going to put in my tracking number here. Expected delivery date is tomorrow. Let's say they updated this to 3 o'clock p.m. I can go ahead and adjust that time so I have the most up-to-date information in my system. Save, and now my shipping has been complete. I can also send a PDF of the packing slip or the items that were shipped, and this will generate a PDF for me, and of course these PDFs can be customized. Now if I bounce over to I can update that and see that this is shipping. If I bounce over to my purchasing tab here, I can see all the purchase orders that we have against this requisition. I can open this up. I can send out my purchase order from here and even select who I'd like to send it to just by selecting a contact from here, and then the email addresses will append into my email section. So I can also type in email addresses separated by semicolons, fill out my subject, fill out the body of my email, and send this purchase order directly out of the system. It will come from my email address, so the vendor receives it as me. So I'm not having to download PDFs or anything like that to my email. It's going to ship straight to the vendor. Excuse me, it's going to be emailed straight to the vendor. Just by clicking this little paper airplane icon up here. Awesome. Now I can also go over here and complete my PO line. So at the point I've got confirmation from my vendor, I can complete my lines. So now all my PO lines have been completed. So now if we go ahead and update this, I have shipped my items, I have completed my lines, and now this requisition has been updated to an items ordered status. So these items have been officially ordered. I also can go in and complete these receipts. You can see here they have 0 of 3 receipts pending completion. I can just do that by clicking on receive, and this is a step that can be automated in your settings. This is just confirmation that these items have been indeed received by our customers. So when I receive those items, it will consume them from inventory, and now they'll officially be relieved from inventory. And now I can see here that my receipts have been closed out. So then I could also, now this item has been items ordered as a type sales order, I can create this invoice as well. So if I want to convert to customer invoice, this will create an invoice for me. It'll pop up so that I can select who I would like to send this invoice to. If I had a default contact at that organization, the email address would default for me. And I can review the invoice before I send it out here. I would just send it by clicking that paper airplane, and it would log that in the system under chatter and as a file in the system, so I can see all those file revisions that were sent out of the system. Then if anything ever comes up with this order, I can also simply go to my return button here, and I can request that any of these items be returned should that process ever be required. It'll also show me who the source is. It'll show me the vendor, the warehouse, and everything I need to do to process and kick off that returns process. Great, so that is a little bit of an overview of the Legendary Supply Chain Platform, as well as processing an order both from stock and from a vendor externally. And I can see in my fulfillment information that of the quantity of items that were fulfilled, because we requested 2 items that we shipped internally, that's at a 60% fill rate internally for the actual quantity of items and a 33% externally. I can also run those reports and see that of my total internal and external fulfillment on a line level, that is 1 and 2, and we can run all sorts of metrics based on this information here. And those metrics will show up in a dashboard. So if we look at our requisition sales dashboard, I can also see all of the sales orders that we've had processed this month, last month, and how we're trending over time, as well as our lost sales. And these dashboards and reports are totally customizable to you and your organization and what type of metrics you want to run. Awesome. I really appreciate you guys joining in. Thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed this legendary demo, and I look forward to hopefully working with all of you soon. Thank you.